Nick, the excitement for DJ Lagway is palpable. That touchdown pass over the middle, split in the zone, beautiful. That said, I think Graham Mertz leading the winning field goal drive at the end of the game still tells you where Florida's at for the near future.
Yeah, it's interesting because DJ Lagway is the future, while Graham Mertz is the present, I guess you could say, and the future for August. So Florida's in an interesting spot because I think I was trying to go back, and in 2000 they didn't really have rankings, but Brock Berlin probably would be the highest rated quarterback Florida's ever signed, not named DJ Lagway. So there is a palpable thirst from the fan base to get more DJ Lagway, but Graham Mertz is going to be your starting quarterback. And I think that's not questioned. And because that's not questioned, Graham is comfortable. He's not looking over his shoulder. I think you're not getting a situation like Johnny Manziel and Brian Hoyer in Cleveland, where Brian Hoyer doesn't talk to Johnny because he's worried about losing his job. Graham's not worried about losing his job. And because of that, he's taken DJ under his wing and is showing him how to be a college quarterback, how to be the quarterback at the University of Florida. And I think that's going to eventually be really good for DJ, and DJ will eventually be really good for the Gators, but it's Graham Mertz's team this year.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we've seen these situations play out in the past few years where it's been clear that the very highly rated freshman came in expecting to play right away and then was slightly surprised. It feels like this has been explained, telegraphed. I don't know how else to describe it, but everybody was on board with this when DJ signed. Graham was on board with this. And I wonder, if Graham Mertz isn't a guy who started 3 years at Wisconsin, who, came to Florida, kind of reinvigorated his career. If he's not that person, if he's somebody who's only started for a year, I would imagine it's a little more dicey situation.
Yeah, it could be. And listen, if Graham didn't have the year that he had last year, if he had thrown some more interceptions, if he hadn't won the locker room over, maybe it's different. It's funny to say, that a quarterback on a team that didn't go to a bowl game, his job is safe. But I think that's where we're at. And I think the conversations that Florida had to have with DJ and his dad and the family, like you said, Andy, everyone was on board with this plan. And I think Graham himself had a good spring camp. I think the best way to put it is Graham is probably taking college calculus and DJ Lagway is taking algebra in terms of their knowledge of the playbook and what the offense is trying to do. That being said, I don't think there's any point in not playing DJ Lagway. There's no point in redshirting him. If he is as good as we think he will be, he won't be in college for 3 years. And if he's not, he'll probably use the transfer portal as quarterbacks do and go find somewhere where he can play right away. So there's really no point in redshirting DJ Lagway, and that then falls on Billy Napier and Russ Callaway and Ryan O'Hara to try to figure out how to use DJ in impactful ways so that you're not wasting one of the 3 years you'll get from him.
There is a history of Florida having a highly rated freshman quarterback and an established senior quarterback and finding a package for that highly rated freshman quarterback that worked out really well. So it's been done before. It can be done again. But as you mentioned, Florida didn't make a bowl game last year. I would not pin that on Graham Mertz in the offense. The defense was not great, Bob. It was it needed some work. And then they lose Princely and Mamie to the transfer portal to Ole Miss. What has this group done in the offseason to get better?
They added a lot. I think Florida, if you look at their last 5 games, the defense averaged giving up 38.5 points a game. Offense just wasn't able to overcome that. So I remember talking to Will Harris around the time of signing day and asking him, like, how do you come in? Like, you don't know who you guys are recruiting. You just got here. And he said he was going to watch the film on his flight back to California. And shortly after that, transfer portal scholarship offers were sent out. And I think DJ Douglas, Triquez Bridges, and Asa Turner come in to give you a lot of experience and a lot of tackling in a secondary that wasn't really interested in tackling last year and wasn't good at it when they did find the interest to tackle. So I think adding those veteran guys, adding thousands of snaps to the secondary and guys who are proven tacklers, I think is the biggest thing. The secondary, in my opinion, this spring is the group that I think is transformed the most. And probably the one I'm most excited about.
Well, and that would be, if they really are better, it would help in terms of limiting the big plays, limiting the yards after catch. Because, the big concern when you lose Princely and Manmielen is pass rush. And now I'm curious because I think it feels like they're pretty high on TJ Searcy, who will fill into that role. Do you think they can generate enough up front so that those guys in the secondary aren't dealing with people that they have to tackle every single play?
Yeah, I think TJ Searcy can play at the level of Princely and Manmielen. And then I think Florida adding, a Joey Slackman, a Brian Taylor, some of these guys in the middle, I don't know that they have an all SEC guy outside of, first team all SEC defensive lineman outside of maybe Searcy if he reaches his potential. But they have 2 or 3 deep at every position. So you shouldn't be in the situation that Billy Napier was in his first year where a 320-pound Gervon Dexter is playing 68 snaps a game. And I think getting those guys 25, 30 snaps, 20 to 25 snaps a game and keeping them fresh should help the pass rush. But I think I'll put the challenge to Florida's interior defensive linemen, Joey Slackman, Cam, and Caleb Banks. I think Caleb Banks probably held off Joey Slackman to hold on to his starting job. And then big Des Watson. It'll be a big offseason for him as he heads into his senior year. And can he finally make an impact outside of every Saturday the TV talking about how big he is?
Well, if he recovers some more fumbles and stiff arms the quarterback, poor Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler didn't know what hit him in that play. But yeah, that is the question. Joey Slackman, you mentioned, is a transfer from Penn, a grad transfer from Penn. And it is really about how well I would think they evaluated in the transfer portal. And that's kind of been the one of the problems in the Billy Napier era is it doesn't seem like they've really brought in the impact transfers. I want to ask you about the offensive line because that was the one where they brought in transfers last year. They did not really pan out as well as they'd hoped, but it sounds like they've got one transfer specifically this year who has allowed them to kind of move everybody into the positions that they probably should be playing.
Yeah, I think Brandon Crenshaw Dixon is going to win that right tackle job, and he'll sit there, he'll stay there. Austin Barber, when he's healthy, will take left tackle. Najee Harris, a sophomore from IMG, will be at left guard. Jake Slaughter, who was a surprise last year. He was on the team for so long. You forgot that he was there as a backup. And then he starts playing for an injured Kingsley Aguakin. And I think even if Kingsley was healthy, Jake was playing well enough that they would have kept him there last year. Yeah. So Florida's big question then is right guard. They've kicked Damian George inside. I don't think it's just you're too slow to play right tackle. You can play guard. So I don't know that Damian George will be the starter. I think Florida might go into the transfer portal looking for more help on the offensive line. And then Bryce Lovett is a redshirt freshman who I think they like, but he's also played all 5 positions. So it'll be interesting to see if he takes that right guard spot or if they are going to try to find a veteran with a year to play who can come in and play right guard right away. But Brandon Crenshaw Dixon kind of took over that tackle spot, and then Florida felt comfortable, like you said, Andy, to kind of start putting other pieces into spots to see if they feel good about it.
You and I have talked a lot, Nick, about the temperature of the Florida fan base and the kind of apathetic vibe that was going on. I got a sense after people got a chance to look at DJ Lagway that there was a little bit of spark came back. So I don't know how long that lasts, but it does seem like, if they could win some games early, maybe the momentum comes back. Maybe the feeling comes back.
Well, he might be similar in the way of that other freshman quarterback you were talking about or alluding to, where in practice it maybe just doesn't look the best. Also, DJ Lagway has been the biggest, fastest, strongest player on any football field he's been on for 3 years now, 4 years maybe. You have to kind of get out of that mentality and learn to throw the ball away. DJ used to be able to just run around the field. He was the biggest and fastest guy, and he would pick up 10, 15 yards. Now you have linebackers in the SEC who are as big as you and might be as fast as you as well. So he's going to have to learn, as Billy Napier said, like poker, when to fold your 2-7 offsuit and not try to turn that into, trip sevens and get lucky. So I think in practice,
did Billy Napier actually use those cards, or was he just quoting Kenny Rogers?
I added the 2-7.
I kind of figured. I think Billy Napier knows Kenny Rogers songs. I don't know if he knows Texas Hold'em.
Yeah. Well, I added that. That's my journalistic flair to add that in. But kind of like Tebow, it always didn't look great in practice. And I think something that stood out to me is Billy Napier said, we're going to do an overtime period. And whoever wins this overtime period is going to start the spring game with 3 points. And he said that you could kind of see DJ's eyes light up a little bit. And now we're really competing for something in practice. And DJ's team, to our confusion, when the spring game started, Orange's team had 3 points. And we were like, what is going on here? We thought the scoreboard was wrong. So we had to ask Napier about that later.
That is tremendous. I can't wait to see what happens, because it's one of those things where if they have something for him, if he can come out and make some plays early, it could change the complexion of the early season. But again, they've got to beat Miami out of the gate. The early season schedule is not as easy as everybody thinks. Like Texas A&M is going to be tough, UCF's going to be tough, but it will be interesting, because if they have evaluated well in the portal, they can be competitive. Nick, thank you so much.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples on 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.